wanted to see if the engine was any good on our Project Bronco here, 1966 Bronco if you haven't seen our other video. Again, picked it up in Tampa. My beautiful wife holding the camera decided that we need to restore it instead of flip it. So here we are. Got it running yesterday and we're going to pull the body today. So I'm not going to bore you with me taking out each individual bolt. I've never done this before. I've done Mustangs. I know a Mustang inside and out. The Bronco I'm learning as I go, so anybody new, this might be beneficial. Tell you what I found, what made it easy, what was a booger. So, anyways, what we'll do is we'll just start in the back. I'm gonna come around and take a vote. First thing, I've seen a lot of videos and I understand it. I understand why the Bronco is weak without the doors on. I'm leaving my doors on for now, but if we're going to pull the body, these things tend to sag, especially if you have a lot of issues underneath, supports and rust. So what I did is I pulled the straps, the door straps out and used those bolts. I had some thin gauge aluminum, thin gauge, this galvanized steel angle, just to put a little bit more stability into the door and into the body, so when we lift it up, the body doesn't try to tweak or, anyways, destroy the frame and the geometry of the Bronco itself. So that's the first thing I did. So as you can see, I had some metal just to make it easy. I used 4 pieces, put them in, pulled them together, screwed it together, and still use my doors. The door's still shut good. The floor in this Bronco is actually really good. We'll get to this in a second, some of the stuff I did find where it's not so good. But, all right, well, let's talk about body mounts. The body mounts, 2 in the bed, 4 in the bed, 2 in the floorboard, 2 up front near the radiator core support. So I was sort of fortunate. Most of mine came out without a huge fight. They were rusted. Anyways, a little bit of work, get your body mounts out. Okay, I got ahead of myself. I'm new to this. Like I said, I know some of you are ready to turn the video off. Anyways, to lift the body, you're going to need a lift or some way of jacking it up, holding it up while you roll your chassis out. If you don't have a lift and you plan on removing your body, doing a restoration, I'm not really sure exactly how to tell you to go about that. You build you a frame, a car lift, a 2-post lift like I have here. It cost me $1,500, brand new, shipped to my door. It has been the best thing. It's not a bin pack or a really expensive brand, but for what I do, somebody using it at home, it's great. It's a company out of Texas, and I've really enjoyed it. I've done so many jobs on it, restorations on it. I'm going to show you some cool things you can do with the 2-post lift here a little bit later on. It'll be part 2 of this, the body removal. But anyways, so you're going to have a lift. We'll get to how we're going to support it here in a minute. Body mounts, 4 in the bed, 2 in the floorboard, 2 in the front under the hood at the core support. Go ahead and get those loose. Just a couple pointers. Your battery tray. Your battery tray is usually a locking one. It's usually here. You'll have to remove your battery tray. Mine, as you can see, has seen its better days. You pull it out and your body mount's actually underneath. And as you can see here, here's the body mount. This is the passenger front. A little bit of rust down there, but honestly, it's just not that bad. There's a little hole in the back, but that's easy. That's me and some buddies of mine, we have a saying, it's just steel, you know, cut it out, put some new in. No big deal. The other body support down here, this one's in great shape, no problem. Back here, you're gonna have to pull your, if you still have your shifter linkage, this has got a 3-speed column shift, so you have to remove your shifter linkage. You have 2 keepers on each, one on each pin. You just remove it, let it hang free. The brakes on this were all, the brakes are in bad shape, they're locked up, so I wasn't worried about it. I just cut the line because I'm going to replace the lines anyways. I cut it and sort of bent it back up underneath itself so it doesn't just pour brake fluid all over the place right now. Your wiring is very basic on these. You have your power wire for your coil, your temperature, and oil pressure. This other white wire is just something someone added. I'll get it pulled out. But you'll remove those wires. The steering, I wasn't sure how much this shaft slid, if it did, if it didn't. It actually moves a little bit, but I didn't get it to move much. So actually what I did to remove my steering shaft was, remove the joint, and then I pulled the box loose so I could pull the box forward and slide it out the end of the shaft. So that way all that'll stay together. I don't have to worry about it. I didn't have to pull the column out to pull the body. All right, the Z-bar clutch linkage. We'll have to crawl up underneath it in a second, but here's your Z-bar here, and then there's a pin on the inside of the fender well and the rod that comes from your clutch pedal. You'll just separate those two. We'll look at that. Let's see, hoses. Oh, radiator. You're gonna have to pull your radiator out. Get your radiator out of the way. I use a big plastic tote, try to catch most of the antifreeze. You'll have to remove your heater hoses. Remove your heater hoses so they don't get hung on anything. Pull them out of the way. Again, those are free. Throttle cable. All your pieces, parts, you'll remove your throttle cable from your carburetor. Choke cable, which is right here. It was also connected to the top. Remove the choke cable, throttle cable. See, was there anything? Starter wire. Starter wire here. You'll want your starter wire. Then you have your ground, which is on your engine block. So you'll find it down low. You just remove your ground. I was having trouble removing this factory connector for the alternator wires, and I'm probably going to end up rewiring that anyway. So what I did is I cut it. I cut enough at the alternator so I can see the wire color, so I don't get them screwed up later, and it goes back together pretty easy. But as far as that's under the hood. There wasn't a whole lot to do. We talked body mounts. Let's go into the back side of this thing. Under the back of your Bronco, you'll get Johnny to look down here. You'll have to remove your vent and your hose off of your fuel tank. And then you have a few connections for your blinkers, tail lights and blinkers. Just two separate connections. You'll undo those. And your emergency brake cable up underneath the Bronco. What I did is I've separated mine at the equalizer link. You'll have one cable coming from your foot from the assembly under the dash, and it's where it splits to 2 cables if you're not sure what I'm talking about. So that's your equalizer link. If there's a pin, you'll pull one cotter pin, you'll remove it, and your cables separate. So just get those hung from underneath. We just looked at the fuel tank hoses, vent and filler hose. I went ahead and just removed my shifter, the transfer case shifter, so it comes up easy. Just don't forget to support your frame, to support your body. I feel pretty confident that this one's not going to move because it's in good shape. But if you're missing a lot of floorboards, you really might think about doing some structural work to your Bronco before you try to separate it, because your body is actually keeping everything square. And once you undo it, I've heard horror stories of these things folding up and fold like a sandwich. So anyways, I'm going to show you the emergency brake cables underneath. Once we pick the body up, I'm not going to make Joni get on the floor and slide up under here, as nasty as it is. But let's see if this body will come up. Now you see I've already got my lift underneath the Bronco. I'm going to pick it up at the, there's two supports underneath the cab. And I've got a 4x4 block on the back because it's not even. It's not just a straight shot underneath the Bronco. I've got some lengthening blocks, but I can show you that a little bit more here in a little bit. But just make sure when you're picking it up that your lift is going to try to pick it up squarely as much as possible. So here we go. Let's see what happens. Make sure I'm not hanging anything. Shifters, steering, cables. I think we're clear. Alright, so we've got the body off. So this is some of the good stuff I wanted to show. If you look under here, you can see this is the original floorboards. That's pretty typical, but it's not bad. It's not near as bad as I've seen. Common rust location, rots inside the rockers there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to build an adapter for my rotisserie. I custom built a rotisserie for my Mustang, and I'm going to adapt it to this Bronco. This is my first time under it, so I'm just kind of getting a visual of what I got. You can see here along the wheel tub, you know, the guy I bought it from had fiberglass right around that corner. It seems to come through the back a little bit. So that's not terrible. It's not great. It's repairable. All this is really looking good. I'm happy with that. Door striker area is rusted, but it's not deteriorated. You know, it's a lot of surface rust. So these are your inner rockers here, and they look to be in really good shape. Earlier we had mentioned when we disassemble the Bronco, this is your equalizer length for the parking brake. And then I didn't mention removing the speedometer cable. So remove your speedometer cable. If not, you'll have that bound up too. So as you can see, a little bit more rot where they had kind of cheesy fix. This kind of stuff drives me bananas. I don't know how to do things part way. Johnny says I go too far, but I want it how I want it. I want it right. I want it to look like it's supposed to. I want it I don't want to have to revisit it, because the worst thing in the world to do is do something twice. I can't stand to do something twice. Anywho, that's the frame. All right, I got thinking, somebody told me the VIN number is supposed to be stamped on the frame, and right now is a great time to find it, and then just make sure it matches the tag on the kick panel and on my title. But what? That's it. I can't believe I went to that first thing. U15, which this is a U15. Anyways, that's pretty cool to find that. I'll do a little bit more research on that and clean that up a little bit more. But I don't want to clean it up so much where I can't read the numbers. There's a little bit of surface rust on top. So we just verified the VIN on the door, inside the kick panel, driver's side kick panel. The VIN tag matches the VIN on the frame, so that's perfect. That couldn't be any better. So we're in good shape. Until next time, hopefully this was informative.